Welcome back to 4 Geeks by Geeks, the place where geeks come to geek out. As always, I'm Boser, and do not adjust your screen. I am wearing glasses because right before the stream, I'm trying to talk in the chat, and I'm having a hard time typing. So I ran and got these, which I usually only wear when I'm doing heavy painting, but I guess now I'm actively aging older and older here on the stream. But of course, it's not just me. Tonight, I am joined by my co-host from heaven, T.
I'm very concerned because I know your setup and you're literally a foot away from both monitors.
Shush! It's literally, my laptop's right here, and I'm an arm's length of the other monitor.
When was the last time you got your eyes checked?
I don't understand the question.
That answers that. I think you're really just trying to go for that whole Clark Kent vibe tonight.
Yeah, except now this light.
Because he's got his hat conveniently out where he's got the swoosh. If he just pushed it down a little bit, he'd get the little forehead curl.
I can. In honor of talking about comics and
now 2 weeks in a row at that.
Yeah, which I am kind of excited about because I've always thought that the one of the biggest topics that we don't touch on as much as we should are comics.
Correct.
Because I don't know much about them.
I spend a lot of money on my subscription services to read them because I got into them way too fucking late.
Where can I put this ring light so it's not reflected in these glasses?
You could just take them off.
Alex says, I'm supposed to be the hot one. So
we're literally just talking about that.
I think, I don't know. Does this hurt my vibe?
It definitely changes it considerably.
Okay, how about now?
Now you're back to normal.
And see, now I feel like I can see. It's really the computer. You don't do glasses. But you know what? I'm going to try this whole episode. I'm going to try them in glasses. And we're going to see all the comments.
45 minutes in, guys, my head hurts.
Yeah, right. All the comments are going to just blow up. And this is going to be our most watched episode. Watch.
It's only a matter of time.
But if this is your very first Geek Out Sesh, welcome. We do this each and every Monday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard live on Twitch. And if you're back watching it on YouTube or listening on podcast, thank you. We love you. Thank you for watching them after the fact. Come by on Twitch on Monday night and hang out in the chat. Be part of the conversation. Just like Alec, just like Freakish, and a slew of millions of others that are just being silent at the time.
If you lurk, that's okay. We still love you.
Honestly, I think I saw a statistic that was like a huge percentage of people on Twitch are all lurkers.
Yeah.
Just like it in the background. You just want it while you vibe.
Because you got to think, how many times, just in your day-to-day life, how many people in your life, I want to support you, but at the end of the day, I don't want to devote 2.5 hours to just staring at a screen and idly chatting and hoping you get that response. Twitch is a very niche thing, and not everybody is on board with content creation in that regard. So a lot of people yeah, I'll give you the view and I'll tune in periodically, but I'm not going to sit here and watch for whatever time frame. So the people that we come in and get chat, that's how you can really emphasize oh yes, you genuinely enjoy this because you're actively chatting, you're sitting here interacting, and again, we still love the lurkers, but I'm here, I'm fighting on your behalf to say you're allowed to lurk.
You're allowed. But it's good to know, Freakish says, that you guys are awesome to watch while cosplay crafting, TBH.
Watch while we crossplay craft or while
no,
because we were not good at that. We tried real hard and got very not far.
Oh God, I don't even think that episode made it on our YouTube channel. I was so ashamed.
That's probably best.
I
said a lot of words that would have demonetized us immediately. So kind of useless to be up on YouTube at that point.
But if you saw in the chat, I just dropped the command QOTD, the question of the day. And because we are talking to a real life teacher today, not only in the comic book world, but also in his real life world, I want to know, what subject did you fail the hardest in at school, T?
English.
English? For real?
Yes.
So which were you good at?
Write in MLA format. Fuck your format. I'll write whatever fucking way I want. I don't need to cite shit. Google, bitch. That's where I got my facts. Mind your fucking business.
You don't have thoughts or opinions about this at all.
No, not at all. I don't know why I was in AP English all those fucking years. Like, you're doing great in here. I cried nightly keeping my fucking grades where they needed to be. I hate English so fucking much.
Well, it's a good thing our tonight's teacher has absolutely nothing to.
Is he an English
Wow.
teacher? Did I just shoot
He
myself
might be
in
the
foot?
chair. Yeah, he might be the head of his that subject at his school. But I'm with Freakish.
Well, on that point,
Bye. It's so nice. Thanks for stopping by. Freakish, I'm with you. Math gave me anxiety. Like that would put me in tears. Let's go rolling.
Don't underestimate me.
Oh, we love
Love
you too.
guys.
Ooh, don't underestimate me. That's pretty ominous.
Announcement coming at end of stream. I wonder what it'll be.
Ooh, excited. But English, I could make that shit up all day. In fact,
I can make shit up, no problem. But I was getting points. Well, you didn't indent properly. Your sizing is off. I don't give a shit. Did you get the content you asked for? Did I talk about the things that I was supposed to discuss? Then don't fucking worry about the rest. Do I have a doctorate? No, and I don't fucking want one. Don't worry about how I'm writing this goddamn paper.
Your teachers
My thoughts are there.
expect you to have a doctorate. That's pretty high bar.
Listen, I could name some names, and you're gonna be like, "Oh yeah, that makes sense."
Oh, I'm sure. I'm thinking of them already. We went to the same high
Exactly.
school. But I'm really
It's like a
curious.
decade apart.
After shut up, not true. Half a decade. I'm really curious about our guest tonight. This is a guy that actually I stumbled upon doing some scrolling, and then I said, "Oh, this guy, we need to talk to him." And I immediately, from the second we've hooked up tonight, I knew that we were gonna have a great talk because he's got great vibes. He's intelligent. He's so chill, and we're gonna have a great time.
And said, "Fuck English
And you ruined
teachers,"
it.
so.
You did, but.
Come in late to the meeting, insult his job, off jump.
But please give it up for tonight's geek guest, the comic book teacher.
Hey.
Most people get
Hey,
applause. You got 7 children cheering.
Specifically 7. I don't know where he got that info from, but it's accurate.
I'm excited by that. Don't feel bad, T. Everybody unasked for will tell me how much they hated English. Like within the first seconds I meet them, I'm like, I'm just here to order a burrito, yo. Like I don't know.
Sir, this is a Wendy's.
See, I didn't get an English teacher vibe from you. I got a science teacher vibe from you.
Okay, I take that as a compliment. One of my close friends is a science teacher, and he is an amazing person. So I'll take that.
Well, I would hope a lot of your friends are teachers working at a school, unless like you just like dip out of there and get on your comic book teacher account and live your best life.
Yeah, the whole thing is a fry. I'm
Yeah.
not to a school.
I'm actually banned, not allowed in a school.
I sneak in periodically and see how long I last until they kick me back out.
Stuffing comic books in kids' lockers and running away.
That is a terrible image. Like a person in a trench coat, like holding out comics, like, "Hey kids,
I got this week's issue.
You got the good stuff.
some amazing."
If I had my robe on, that joke would have hit better, but I didn't have anything to flash.
Damn, we're all so disappointed by that.
Listen,
Well, everyone-
I'm a hobo at the end of the day. We all know this.
Say hi to our new best friend, Ronell, the comic book teacher.
I'm so excited to be here, man. Y'all are really cool. I'm just glad to be here.
Oh, don't worry,
Appreciate
we'll
you
change your
agreeing to
mind.
being on to this nonsense.
Give us time. We'll change that opinion real quick.
See, I know we're professionals, but then we meet like an actual professional, and I'm like, do I change my entire personality to justify their like reasoning for like, yeah, I'll do that? Or do like I give them the authentic version of me? Because if they're doing background checks, I feel like we can get a lot more no's than yeses.
That's why I'm the one reaching out, not you.
Exactly.
I'm just still shook on the fact that you called us professionals. And what definition of the term English teacher? Can you find us a definition of the word professional that involves this shit?
Oh, it's mad easy. If y'all have made even $1 at this, y'all are professionals. So
Oh, well, our angel investor Alec Dewan.
We file taxes.
there you go.
Hopefully, maybe. I don't know.
don't file no taxes. Are you kidding me?
It's not my company, not my problem.
I think you got to make
Either
$2,000.
way, you don't want to admit anything about taxes on a live broadcast.
Yeah, fuck the IRS. Almost as much as Wizards of the Coast, but anyways.
See, what I talked, Ronell and I were
just
talking about that
yeah.
before you came in, and I was like, "Oh, T's got some opinions."
Yeah, I won't go on that tirade unless it naturally comes up.
We'll fold it in. He does play D&D on. Usually tonight would be his D&D night.
You gave up TTRPGs for us?
I know it's wild, right?
Damn, I gotta really act like a fucking adult now. Damn it!
I made a sacrifice.
Sit up straight.
Nah, you know how hard it is to get people to come together for game nights anyway. So it's just one of those nights where it was like it worked out for everybody. I think.
Listen, I'm gonna be that guy this time, guys. I got some people on the internet to go talk to real quick.
Sorry, my fans are clamoring. Just let me put a pin in this battle for now. But Ronell, I gotta know, what was your worst subject as a now teacher?
Oh man, it's actually a really easy answer. So yes, I am an English teacher by trade, but my worst subject was math. Math was tough, and it was one of those things where I think similar to T's attitude about it, I was constantly like, I will never use this, like ever. And it got to the point where like I did really well in math that was like practical. So like geometry, I did really well in because that's.
See, I hated geometry. It was all proofs and theorems, like prove your work. The math is there. Did I get the answer? What am I going through and give you a written out explanation for?
Right.
Whenever I tell people this, I have to remind them that I am old. So I learned like regular math. Like, I know
that's
what
a
right
circle.
Is.
That's a square.
Straight up. And like when I got into, I had to take trigonometry.
Oh God!
Like, why do y'all hate me? But I had to take it because it's like a requirement. And I also took honors physics. I don't know why I was there, but I had
honors.
Yes.
Let alone physics, but honors.
Mr. Taylor.
So here's what happened. I'm from Chicago, and one of my teachers who recommended me for that class thought that I would do well because
your math scores previously.
And what happened was my physics teacher is a Golden Apple nationally recognized teacher.
Wow.
Made trigonometry make sense to me because I go in that person's class and I'm like, this is terrible. I go in physics and you go, oh yeah, this is just the football problem. We just, oh, this is the same thing. What are you talking about?
Perspective is such an important thing for all of teaching.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing is context is always key. And if we don't ever give kids a way to access what we're teaching, then we're just wasting an hour of their time every single day.
Yep.
Exactly. Okay, not to get on any kind of soapbox about this, but and to keep my real life out of this for the most part, but I'm part of this endeavor to open a different kind of charter school that's going to involve so much teaching in that way. It's going to be very hands-on, challenge-based, arts integrated, and taking these real-life concepts and folding them into the subjects that they might normally just tune out on.
That's cool, man. I mean, the whole point is, especially now, we have to start reminding ourselves that whatever we're preparing kids for, Chaucer ain't going to get them there. You know what I mean? Like, we got to teaching them how to think and how to apply what we're doing is more important than a kid knowing how many lines are in a sonnet. That's cool. And it's a cool thing to give them how to access and think about art in a different way. And that's definitely a part of the curriculum. But at the same time, we got to help kids start thinking about ways that they can use whatever we're teaching them, lessons and or just theories and ideas, and apply that. Not so much the, did you memorize the Raven? Like I had to do it myself.
Exactly. Shit, I didn't know we were getting so like philosophical about education right off the bat,
but that's so massively important. Like, as much as I talking shit about teachers, like I can go back to school and finish my degree in teaching in 2 years. And that was one of the things. So I went back to my high school to sit in on some classes because like you had to get some observing time in. And so I went into a couple of these classes, and like in the middle of their lectures, teachers walked over, they're like, "Why are you here?" And I'm like, to be honest, now that you're saying like I don't want to tell you that, like you influenced me and I want to be you, but now if you're gonna like throw me out in front of the wolves right now, like but I had so many teachers that I'm like, I'm struggling with this.
Who lets you
but
in?
You go walk to the teacher down the hall ask them the same problem, they give you the different perspective on. You're like, oh, now these neurons are the connection is there. And so at the end of the day, I'm like, yeah, you're teaching one subject, but at the end of the day, it's still that collaborative through the entire school. Like, hit to that one student, like, I'm just not grasping this. I'm like, oh, just grab this person's perspective, put their little spin on it, and it all makes sense.
Look at us. Look at us. Welcome to For Educators by Educators. We're changing a whole brand right now. Take the shit off my wall back here. But anyway, let's get into it. Ronell, not Ronell.
Damn,
Ronell,
already.
Nice. I know. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do as a geek.
Yeah, so I am a teacher. I've been teaching since 2005. Again, I'm not a math teacher, so I don't know how many years that is.
Damn, almost 10.
And, I've been using comics in my class in some form since then. My first year in education, one of the things I tried to figure out was, like, how do I get kids to engage in the material? Like, how do you get a kid to care about grammar and whatnot? And one of the ways I found to plug kids in, the first lesson I did with that was the comic strip, The Boondocks. I started cutting up strips from that and had kids put them in order to form a more unified and cohesive story. And I told them that's the exact same thing we do when we write. We try to make sure that everything goes in order that makes sense. So when I had kids doing that, I started to see, like, if I just done this in a worksheet, a kid would have just, gone through the paces possibly. When I made it tactile and used something that they were more interested in, it, like, immediately they started firing with it.
Yeah.
So in that same year, I said, okay, well, let's see what we can do. So I had traditionally what were kids who were struggling readers. And I brought in Kafka's Metamorphosis, but as a comic to freshman readers. And every time I say that to people, they laugh, because it's like, you're gonna have freshmen read Kafka's Metamorphosis. But
Is that like the play Metamorphosis?
I believe there is a play adaptation.
Okay.
But the thing about it that drew kids in, because it's a very heavy philosophical piece, right? But you got freshmen looking like, yo, why is he a roach? What's that about?
Yeah.
And then it's like, that is the question, right? Let's dig into it. And now, like, kids were able to access this text that I didn't read until I was in college, but I had these freshmen reading this really heavy thing. And ever since then, it's been like, I've been a comic book person. I'd be in class, I'd burn 5 minutes of class before each class period to talk about, like, my hero of the week and my monster/villain of the week, or kids would just interrupt class to talk about who would win in the fight, Batman or Superman. And they never liked my answer, so I would always change it every time.
It's not Batman, but you can keep going.
It's never Batman, but
thank you.
They always want to throw in that prep time. I know people are mad in the chat right now. So, but then it started to become this thing where it was like, we created this graphic novel course, myself and my buddy Eric, who's comics_teacher. We aren't very original, y'all, with our names. And
I like the unity.
Yeah, right. It's easy. You got
next one's gonna be comic book teacher XOXO.
And it's one of those things where we started to see that it was a way to gain traction. I started off teaching Spider-Man in my class, again with struggling readers, and I had kids who would finish that book in a week, whereas my colleagues were teaching Of Mice and Men. No shade, but, like, that took them a month. And, like, I took a week and we're writing already. And y'all are still talking about, like, this story that everyone's ruined the ending to every time you read it.
Yeah, just Google it, you're fine.
Yeah, it's so crazy, and it's funny, like, we brought up the whole, what class did I struggle in? The class I didn't struggle in was English, because I was such a voracious reader. And, I knew words, like genetic mutation, because I read X-Men in second grade.
Yes.
I knew what DNA was. And they were like, who was this genius? I'm not a genius. Stan Lee just helped me out. Chris Claremont, like, taught me some things. So that's been
I love that.
Yeah, it's been a part of my identity for the longest time. And now we just kind of, like, myself and my friends in our LitX cohort, we talk about how to use things like comics and pop culture and gaming in the classroom to, like, have kids engage in what they're doing. So it's been really cool, man.
I'm glad we're to a point where, like, that is a feasible thing. So I was a substitute teacher 4 years ago, and I saw the change because I was subbing. I was doing a small little long-term sub stint for an English teacher, and he had just pulled out Kingdom Come. And that was the first time I had been back into a classroom. I was like, oh, like I'm finally seeing comics and graphic novels come into play, which is fantastic, because I was like, I can't read Shakespeare to save my fucking life. Anytime I was reading anything written by that son of a bitch, I'd have to go read the fucking modern version. Like the language, I could never grasp the language. And it's a thing. Like I'm an avid reader. I'm fucking burn through more books. I go through like a 300-page book in a day. Like I love reading, but there's certain levels of writing and styles that like you just can't grasp your head around. And sometimes reading is just difficult for people. But when you come into the concept of like, oh, read this same story with all these words, but we're going to turn this into a graphic novel for you. You're teaching them everything they needed out of that, but taking out the hate and the animosity from it by just twisting it just a little bit for them. And then you have all these old heads like, no, they can't learn that way. I was like, get your head out of your ass.
They can
follow the times. And you got to like, it's technology based. Like you said, it's gaming. It's comic books. Kids are no longer like, you have to work with the kids and not make the kids work with you, because it's you just can't.
And I love the phrase, you got to meet them where they're at, but love them too much to let them stay there.
Yeah. I mean, the whole point
is that means games.
Yeah, the whole point isn't to say like we're only gonna play D&D every day, right?
Right.
That's not what it is. The whole point is to get them to make that connection and to give them access, right? You talk about Shakespeare. I love to use Gareth Hines' Romeo and Juliet. It's a graphic novel adaptation of Romeo and Juliet. It's really cool. When I give it to kids, I don't have to like break down what's being said. They open it up and they see what is happening.
Exactly.
Like they'll point out stuff that I didn't notice. And it's like,
you don't need Leonardo DiCaprio anymore trying to prove the point.
You know, we don't. I mean, and I'll still give them that because that's like ice cream, right? But
it's a classic. It's a classic.
Yeah, but like reading the book, they dig into it. And when it's a comic, man, they find stuff that I don't see, and it's always every single time. It's like that's what the work we want to do. We want kids to be the ones doing the discovery and not us leading them to it.
And it's such a better way to teach foreshadowing and like trying to read between the lines and pay attention to the background, because I'm not going to name names because she's still an active teacher and she is a lovely lady. But she was one of those teachers that she was like, every line has a meaning. Every line, there's a simile, there's a metaphor. Like they wrote this for a reason. No, it's not true. Sometimes the fucking curtains are just blue. It's not necessarily a reason for how he was feeling. The sentence just didn't, he was looking at the curtain. No, he had to give it a fucking color. So the sentence made sense. People wanted to read, they're just going to skim past it. It doesn't matter.
I'm sure there is like symbolism in much of writers, and depending on the writer, they might lean more into that. But I remember having that same thought, T. There was
and I guarantee we're talking about the same teacher right now.
Yes. And I was like, what?
Does it start with a D?
I don't know. No.
Oh, okay. We'll name names afterwards.
I love the gossip that's coming out of y'all right now. Like
we're spilling the tea about our own teachers. Someone's doing this about you right now, Ronell, but it's a good thing.
I hope so. Every time, man. Every time I'm like, I just want to make sure that at worst, I'm the teacher that you can talk about. Say, oh, he was cool. That's good. I will take that. I'll take that over anything most of the time. So
I am curious, having an online persona, like, are your students like allowed to follow you? Are they allowed to engage with you? Or is it like you have to wait till graduation to really get that mix?
So my rule was always after graduation, I'll, allow you to follow and all that kind of stuff. And kids are pretty good with that rule. Now that I'm an administrator, I don't have that one-to-one contact with kids as much as I used to. But you know what? I'm like open, man. I'm always honest with kids. I'm never like behind walls about stuff. Because kids can smell that on you. I mean, y'all know that, right? Like kids can see that on you. So does that mean like, I have this unhinged personality online? No, because I also tell them anything you see about me online, I stand behind it, whether it's something I did wrong and I want to change about it. Or whatever that is. Like I connect my real name to everything I do because I feel like that's just something that people should do. I don't want to hide behind anything. If I said
I
something,
respect that.
I meant that at one point. Where if I was wrong, I probably should change it. But I definitely meant it. And if I am found to be wrong, like I think what better model for kids than to be like, yo, I need to learn from something. So why not? Like if you scrub the internet and stuff, or if you hide behind stuff, or if you're drinking online, I mean that's still you, but you're also an adult. Like you can do what you want to do. Like
Yeah, not me actively hiding behind the name Boser. That's a
I think
real,
it says a
legal
lot
name.
about. I think it says a lot about you as just an educator in itself. To like, yeah, like my faults are out there on the internet. You can find them.
yeah,
And you're like, clearly, obviously, I'm making an assumption here, but like, I feel like you're like, oh, but you said this. I feel like you'd be open to having that conversation. Like, this is why I was wrong. This is my experience to make that. Maybe why I had that thought. This was the experience that made me correct that thought.
Mhm.
Because, like you said, kids know when you're lying to them, and once you start lying to a kid, they're not going to trust you, and then you have to earn that trust back.
God,
Or you can just be open with them, honest with them, and you've already broken past a year's worth of work just by like, yeah, I messed up, or yeah, I did say that. And it like you said, just get in front of it, and you're going to have just substantially better relationships formed and developed based around that.
Yeah, you can't be a teacher and feel like you have nothing to learn, especially from your kids. Like your kids will teach you a lot.
The greatest
So you
teacher.
yeah, seriously, and they will humble you as well. So you got to be ready for that.
So kind of bring this back to comics a little bit. You mentioned the Lidx crew.
Mhm.
Tell us more about who they are and how you're spreading this message of comics.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's myself, my buddy Eric, who is comics_teacher. This is gonna be bad because I don't know people's names.
It's okay. It's not their geek out stats. It's fine.
He's going to get text message and phone calls like, for real, this is how it is?
Thought we were bros, man.
My friend Michael, who is a trying teacher. He is actually based out of Rhode Island.
Is that his name, or he's just a trying teacher?
You know what? Both. He is trying, and these are all IG handles. And my friends Adon and Adam. Adam, I don't think he's a private account, but Adon is teaching dopeness. So we're all about like trying to like just hit a bunch of different ways to just have kids access material, man, and bringing kids in and being inclusive. We're talking about tabletop role-playing games, and recently someone shared something that kind of hit at the core of what I think is important for all we do, where they have this like gaming club, a tabletop role-playing gaming club.
Dope.
And one of the players is bilingual, is most comfortable in Spanish. And the kid was like really struggling in certain areas with the socialization and stuff. So the teacher allowed this kid to play their character as a bilingual, I want to say, tiefling rogue.
Okay.
And they were able to speak in Spanish in certain parts, and one of the other kids would translate to the rest of the group.
I love that.
And that kid, like, I got chills reading that because it was like, yes, like that's the whole point. Like the whole point is to bring these kids in and make them feel at home and make them like want to be a part of what we're doing. And if like that teacher now for that student is a safe place, and that group is a safe place, and that is a person that they will never forget. And they've used this nerdy thing to teach this kid like so many lessons in one shot, right? Like that the way they speak is valid, that communication is key, like all these things happen in like one arena, right? And that's the whole point, like to teach a kid like, maybe the way you access material is through comics, and that's valid. And maybe the way that you communicate things in an assignment is through a podcast, and that's valid. And once you validate kids and like the way that they learn and can communicate, they learn, it goes a long way, man. So like that's like the core of what we like to do, is give teachers the way to do that with their students.
I think I just saw T wiping a tear from his eye. He's just never heard of such a revolutionary teaching style.
Listen, as somebody who's been incredibly geeky his whole life, I say this to some extent because I had some teachers that were a lot more welcoming than others, but I can't name a single teacher I had over 15 years of schooling with college that were open and accepting. Because I mean, all of it, I don't know. You couldn't really be an outward geek in a lot of circumstances because it wasn't the cool thing to do. And so that was one of those things, like I never really had that type of teacher because I was always more outward about that aspect of my life than others. But I would have teachers like openly mock in front of me, and I was like, all right, so I'm gonna shut the fuck up now, and I'm gonna go back to sitting in my little corner here.
Bad enough when the kids are bullying you, but when the teachers gang up, and I know there were plenty in the high school that I saw it. I'm like, dude, you're a role model. These are supposed to be what kids look up to in a safe space.
So just hearing that, like, obviously times change and whatnot, but like hearing that those kids are like finally have that thing like I always wanted to have, what I wanted to be as a teacher, is like, all right, well, the world's not as shit as I like to believe it is, because there's some things like obvious I still hold on to, not into something like, oh, this is weighing me down, but like, yeah, like I still have some stigma about like
you for sure.
Yeah, I still have some stigmas, and then like things like that remind me like, oh, things are changing, things are adapting. So when I have my two kids go off in school, like I don't have to worry like they're gonna have the same problems with kids and students and teachers that like I did, because I hate them. I'll have girls go to school. I'm like, are they gonna what's their problem gonna be today? Can I relate to this one? And that's mostly anxiety. But anyways,
yeah, I think the thing is you just don't want to be a kid's negative core memory, right?
Yeah.
And the entirety of our time with them is all core memories. So we gotta like make sure that we aren't the one that they're like, they want to key our car every time they see us.
Because especially a lot of these kids, like you're going to spend more time with them than their parents are.
Yeah.
By the time they wake up, go to school, get home from school, go to bed, they're going to get what, 2-3 hours with their parents a day, and you're spending 8+ hours with them. Like, it's important to note, like, I am not necessarily a parental figure, but like I'm somebody you're going to look up to one way or the other, and like it's important to make sure that's a positive influence and not a negative influence.
Yes, absolutely.
So while we're talking a little bit, do you mind if I kind of show off your Instagram so people can see?
Yeah, go for it.
What they get if they use command teacher, and if you're watching back on YouTube or podcast, the links will be below. But the one thing, when I first went to your Instagram, I loved that it was a space that if I wanted to learn more about creators that I didn't recognize, or comic book authors that I didn't know much about, I could learn more on your page.
Yeah, last February, I started this series when I wanted to feature a Black comic creator every day for the month of Black History Month. Because a thing I always got, especially as a teacher too, was like, kids didn't necessarily see themselves represented in the text that they were, reading, whether it was the creative side or even as a character. So people would always say like there aren't enough creators of color out there. And I would always tell them like, well, you're not looking, right? So once February ran out, I was like, it to me, it felt strange to not keep it going, because I felt like people shouldn't be, locked into 1 month. So I started sharing them every week. And then when I got to like Hispanic Heritage Month, as you see, I started to feature I teach in a district that has a very heavy Hispanic population. I was like, I think those kids need to see themselves too.
Yes.
And even the thing I love about this, when I started doing it, like I learned stuff as well, because I'm always trying to find new artists and new teachers and new teachers, creators, and try to like just have myself open to as many experiences as I can, because I have the LGBTQ kid in my classroom. I have Hispanic kids or Arab kids or Asian kids. Every group is in my classroom, and I never want to have it where they feel like they never see themselves represented as a whole person. So as you go back, you start to see like I had different formats I was playing with, but I just like to celebrate art. And the other thing too about the series that I have is I try to feature people who are living creators as much as I can, because I'm very much about giving people their flowers while they're here. So like I'll just try to get as much exposure to like
Slaughterhouse 5 classic.
Yo, that graphic novel. So first of all, I love Vonnegut, right? That's easy. This is probably one of my favorite adaptations of things of a classic book that I've ever seen. Because Ryan North is ridiculous and he knows how to do his job. And it's also a place, you know, where when kids will see stuff that I recommend, it's not always going to be like a book I can have in my classroom, because I can't necessarily have Slaughterhouse 5 in there. But I
remind me to circle back, because I've got a couple of questions in that vein.
So but what I can do though, since I'm now in a purchasing role, I can, you know, have my
can slide him in under the radar.
What's really cool about the role I'm in as administrator is like now I can like push maybe not so much an agenda but a preference, right? So it's like hey, these are things that we would be foolish to not capitalize on. And you know, my librarians are on board with using graphic novels in their classroom more.
Nice.
And it's been really cool. And librarians have a little bit more freedom than I do in my classroom, right? Because I can't just say like y'all are gonna read this book, but librarians are like this open place where they can go and have access to a bunch of different books. And you know, we have copies of Slaughterhouse 5 in there. And, you know, I try to just find ways to just honor people while they're here. And this is like way late in my feed, so this is down there where I'm like,
we're down here, man. I'm going digging deep. I like to take it all the way down before people even realize that, hey, this is shit that's eventually going to be on the internet forever. Highlighted.
Yeah. And then again, you know, I don't care, man. So like, yeah, you can see like there's an adaptation of Four Little Women on there. Meg, Joe, Beth, and Amy. That's all women of color. Really cool text. I really dug it, honestly, when I read it. And one of the writers is one of the Latinx creators that I featured a few months later. Or, you know,
awesome.
It kind of comes full circle too.
Well, when you get into this this circle, and I'm sure you start to find like just like we've found you through someone, because now we're like digging into this, which is amazing. Can you take us through some of your favorite creators or comic book graphic novel artists that
but you can only rank them 1, 2, and 3. Like you have to on the spot. I'm just playing.
Yeah.
I have a special place in my heart for Afua Richardson. She is an amazing artist. She's an artist on a book called Genius by Mark Bernardin. And there's another writer, and I can't remember his name, so I'm sorry. But I love her art. Chip Zdarsky is amazing as well. Really sharp, funny mind. Mark Russell, if you've never read any of his stuff, Mark Russell wrote The Flintstones, the reboot of The Flintstones.
Really?
That is singularly one of my favorite pieces of satire I've ever read in my life. Amazing. And then you see the Black Panther Party is written by David Walker, one of my favorite writers. He's an amazing writer. That's the video I did talking about that. I actually wrote the teacher guide for that book. So the Black Panther Party is a very faithful retelling of the history of that organization. And David F. Walker has written really cool books like Nighthawk and a revisiting of Shaft. George Perez, you saw there. George Perez is probably one of the most influential comic creators out there. You see that his piece sadly recently just passed, but was the artist for JLA and the Avengers.
Yeah.
He's touched both publishers, which is like not really heard of, but he's a giant. And you know, the list is too long. I mean, you're gonna put me on the spot here. But yeah, I try to read as much as I can. I try to read for breadth more than anything. But I also try, like, I have my people I go back and forth to, but those are a few. Oh, and Jeff Lemire. Jeff Lemire makes me cry every time I read his stuff. It's just ridiculous.
A big thing I like about you doing this is getting into comics is a very daunting thing to do. I've read comics periodically as a kid, but it was one of the things that family that wasn't a priority. So there was not something that was ever afforded or really ever like allotted money towards. So now that I'm an adult with, adult money, I got to the point, I was like, I really want to fucking read comics, but like, I have no idea where to start at this point. And then I realized both Marvel and DC have subscription services. And so that's one of those things. I've got a couple comic book buddies that like they read these issues fucking 15 years ago, and here I am in 2023, like, oh my god, did you guys? I mean, yeah, I know you read this already, but like, this is incredible. So now, like, I'm going back through years worth of comics and finally getting caught up. And I was like, because there's certain series now, that, like, these are ones like, because going out and buying comics is it's a difficult thing to do because I'm like, this could be trash.
Yes.
And I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus, but there's some popular series right now that are just downright trash. But now I can feel like, all right, what do I want to invest my money into, like, show appreciation to the line, or to the writer, to the everybody. Like, I'm going to give you my money now because I read this one and it hit me in a way that I always wanted comics too, but like I said, I never had a way into. So like, I wish I knew the author, but the current Moon Knight series going on.
Just you're killing me because I know. So Grant Morrison wrote one. Donnie Cates might be the current writer. I'm not sure.
I think it's the Grant Morris series. I'm not confident.
Yeah, the Grant Morrison recently brought Moon Knight back maybe a few years ago, and it more closely resembles the show that we're seeing.
Yeah. I think it might be that run, but that was because I've gone through a lot. Like, I stopped gaming for a chunk of time. I was like, no, I'm just gonna sit down and read some comics, which is says a lot about me.
Good for you. Yeah.
And so like I was reading through Moon Knight, and I was like, oh, I'm caught up. Fuck, I'm caught. Now I gotta wait a month for the next issue to come out. Son of a bitch. And I was like, instead of going back, so now I've got a comic book shop around the corner. I'm like, I want to give you guys my business, but like, I just kind of walk in like and awkwardly look around. Like, I'd like to buy things, but like, I don't know where to start. And I've got so many issues. Like, what are you interested in? I'm like, it's kind of a loaded question. Like, I love Superman. I love Batman. I'm like, I love it all. Like, all right, what type of story do you want? I'm like, listen, I don't know. Because then you start reading an issue and they're like, oh, you need to go back and read this to get them. Like, son of a bitch. Because I can't continue reading until I have a full backstory of the context. So like, I'm it's a problem as a person.
It's a problem.
So I'm currently reading through The Amazing Spider-Man starting in 99.
Jeez.
Oh.
Because I picked up Superior Spider-Man, which, spoiler alert, Doc Ock takes over Peter Parker's body for a chunk of time. And like, obviously I know that. Like, that was pretty common knowledge, even if you weren't in the comic book world. I was like, this is a fun series. And I was reading like the first two issues, like, oh yeah, Doc Ock got married to some random person. I was like, well, who the fuck did he get married to? And then you get the little corner, like, oh, go read issue. I'm like, I can't. Like, I'm going back. So now I'm fucking, I think I'm in 2001 of The Amazing Spider-Man. But yeah, I
think all deities that I don't have that disease.
Disease is the best way to put it too.
Because it is that's rough. You're dealing with like 50 to 70 years of continuity you got to deal with, and some of that ain't great. So like,
nope.
you gotta, no.
And I can't convince myself to Cliff Notes it, because I know, because anytime I've read literature, there's always been like, I'm just going to Cliff Notes this, and then I'll go back and reference something like later in life, and I'll reread the passage or something, and it hits me, and I'm like, I cannot miss that thing because of laziness. Like, I have to go through and I have to experience it in its entirety, or otherwise the nuance is lost. If you're just getting like, oh yeah, this happens. I'm like, no. I need the emotions behind the whole setup. Like, I need to be emotional. Like, if I'm going to cry, like, I want my gut to hurt as I'm like fucking tears onto the screen, trying to get through these fucking pages, screaming at myself. My daughter's like, what's wrong? And I'm like, I don't know if Peter's going to get through this. Like, I know he's going to get through this, obviously, but like, I'm invested at this point. Like, the only thing that matters right now is this issue and this issue only. He'll survive and he'll go on to the next one.
You know,
but side note, if they don't let that man grow the fuck up and have some goddamn money, it's been 60 fucking years. Peter can be an adult now. Anyway,
that's happened at least twice.
But they keep taking it away from him. He doesn't need to be down on his luck all the time.
And that's I don't want to tangent this, but that's the one thing I didn't like about the newest Spider-Man movie. Everybody loves that one.
Tom
Holland.
And
my thing was, we have a Tom Holland or a Peter Parker who, I mean, for the most part, is okay. Like he hasn't had that terrible thing.
Mm-hmm.
We know that Uncle Ben's died, or whatever. We
Mhm.
didn't have to see that with him. But y'all decided in this movie that he has to be this terrible, like this sad sack. Like, why do we need a sad sack Spider-Man? Let this dude have a little bit of happiness.
I fought with my buddies.
No.
Like, no, he needs the suffering. I'm like, get your head out of your ass. Like, it's okay for some creative differences to not give you a mirror image of everything that was created 60 years ago. Like, get with the times. Adjustment is. It's one thing to take away, like losing. Spoilers ahead, if you have not seen, losing may hurt, and yeah, like it gave you your Uncle Ben moment back with Toby, but like you said, you don't have to have that. Like I still looked at
disagree.
Tom and I was like, this is Spider-Man. I'm okay with it.
I'm jumping in. You talked. I'm talking now.
Boser disagrees. Okay,
listen.
Let's hear it.
I don't disagree as a concept. Like, no, I don't think every character needs that tragic backstory. But I do believe, unfortunately, because of what Peter Parker is in Spider-Man, it's been so interwoven into the web of his design, if you will, that like just Peter Parker as a human being and everything that he fights for is because he lost. And he I mean, so many characters are that, but I think there's just something. I'm not saying it's the best choice. I'm not saying that it has to happen with every character, but I think that it's just who Peter Parker is, and he has to have that.
Your business decisions make a lot more sense with this thought process. I'm just saying.
What are you talking about? My bit? What, partnering with you?
I pitch ideas. He's like, maybe we've tried that, done that. 6 months later, I do. He's like, no, that was actually a good idea.
What? Who didn't like that? I think it's a great idea.
Who didn't like that of the two of us?
Yeah, it must have been you. A minute ago, you mentioned that you wrote the Black Panther Party teaching guide to that comic. Tell us a little about that, because I see on your Instagram you have links to all these kind of teacher guides. So how can we become comic book teachers ourselves?
Yeah, you know what? I mean, here's what it is. We, and you know, I say we because again, like some of those are ones I wrote with my buddies in LitX.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, we've kind of put ourselves out there as, you know, these weird experts in this niche field, and you know, publishers have reached out to us like, hey, we know that you use this kind of stuff in your classroom anyway.
Very cool.
So can you create something like this for our book? So I did this stuff for March and Run, and you know, it's one of those things, again, it kind of goes back to our core idea, which is these are the new literature. These are new ways to reach kids. And why not make it where they can use these to actually do the things we want them to do? So like for March, we even had something about like, how can you, and I know I probably like the S in there is being weird. I got to edit that because that's a different group, whatever. But like, how do you use the lessons you learned from this book to like kind of be just as politically active as John Lewis was? Or what are some, like in Lumberjanes, what are some lessons we can learn from about like our identity and how do we be ourselves? Or in Run with at the top there, you know, again, looking at the growth from being an early proponent of civil rights to like growing into an adult. Like, how did John Lewis's life change, and what does it look like for you and your world to kind of have an impact on your own community? And I also always bring a lot of these back to the importance of comics. One of the ways that Dr. King, and I'm glad we're talking about this today of all days.
I wish I could say we planned this, but it's just happened to work out. And I was like, I'm so glad this conversation's happening today. Of all
one of the ways that Dr. King got his message out about how to protest nonviolently was through a comic.
No.
And the way that he, and that was like the way that he did it, because he had, for two reasons. One, he knew that the youth would be the most powerful drivers of any change in our country. And what were they reading? They were reading comics. But he also knew that a large part of his population were either illiterate or not the strongest readers.
Mm-hmm.
And he knew that the best way to get those people to understand those concepts was in this photograph. So if you look up Dr. Martin Luther King and the Montgomery boycott or Montgomery bus boycotts, you can find it for free. I often link it in here every now and again, but you can find it for free. It's a really cool comic, maybe 30 or so pages, and he just walks you through what does it look like to be a nonviolent protester. And And again, like that's it, right? It's like, how do we get these important things to happen in a way, and how do we communicate this stuff in a way that's digestible by everybody? And comics will always be the answer. The example we always like to use, that there it is, yeah, the Montgomery story. And they also use a lot of the funding from that to fund their work. So it's foundational at this point. It's the reason why John Lewis wrote his memoir as a graphic novel and not like a book.
I'm like reeling right now because this wasn't at all like the plan. I was like, oh yeah, well, it just worked. This was the next available day when we talked, but how fucking destined was this moment? And I love that Martin Luther King met people where they were, and he loved them enough to come find them where they were to communicate. And look what he did with a comic book.
Yeah, and again, like, it was the way that we probably wouldn't have had the numbers and the success of, you know, a lot of those movements if it weren't for this comic.
Oh God, I love this man more and more every day. No, like, I was just listening to, like, you know, everyone's talking about it, having conversations about it. I was listening to MSNBC this morning, and they were talking to Martin Luther King the third, and it's just like the things that they're doing, and just the reverence which he can talk about his father. And part of me, like the jaded, like cynic part of me, is like, okay, but was he like that great at home? You know, like he did all these great historical figures.
Let's not open that can of
I
worms.
know.
I know.
But I'm saying he spoke with such reverence and such passion, and I'm like trying to put myself in his son's shoes. I was like, was this like thrust upon him, or was he inspired to the point? And I really believe that when someone is doing what Martin Luther King Jr. did with the heart that he had you can't help but just move your family to power, and just, I mean, clearly the masses, and he did it with comics.
Well, and you got to remember too, I'm going to keep dropping stuff, and both
Drop
like
stuff.
you know, something that's really interesting to me, like what was he like at home, right? It's
Yeah.
important to tell the totality of a person's being, because they lose a little bit of like who they are, and it's really easy to mythologize people, right? But
Exactly.
like, you didn't know that he, you know, used the comic to help us, you know, move things forward. You might have heard this story. He's the reason why Nichelle Nichols stayed on Star Trek. Have you heard that story at all?
No.
So
I didn't know that one either.
Nichelle Nichols, if people don't know, she played Lieutenant Uhura on Star Trek. The only Black woman on a sci-fi show, or really on TV for a while there.
Yeah.
And she wanted to leave. She was like, I have this Broadway play I want to go do. That's more important to me and would pay me more and is more fulfilling to me. And she got a phone call from Dr. King, who was like, hey, I'm a big fan of yours. And she was like, oh, it's really cool to talk to him and talk about, like, it's Dr. King. Like, that's, even back then, he was a giant to a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And she kind of talked about, like, yeah, you know, I'm kind of gonna leave the show. And he tells her, you know, you are too important to my household for you to not be on TV, because you show that there are Black people in the future. And like, for her, it was like, well, I can't leave the show. Dr. King doesn't have to be on the show. But there's that other piece of it, right? Where it's like the totality of the person. Like, nobody knows that Dr. King was a nerd at this point. Like, we need to know. Like, we get, to T's point, we get beat down on, like, for being a nerd, and now we look up and, like, you know, it's so funny to see that there are people who, like, are making cash off, you know, I was a geek, I do X, Y, and Z. But like, to know everybody's story, to know like that science fictionism isn't popular for, you know, no reason. It's not just our little pocket of people who are like, we love comics and we're like swirling away for it. You know, there's so many reasons why this medium and geek culture in general persists. It's because pretty much everybody loves this form of storytelling as well, whether it's in gaming, comics, or sci-fi, all that stuff. Like, you know, Marvel movies are the only movies, or in superhero movies, I guess I should say. DC's not that bad sometimes.
Pause. I'll let you finish, but you're wrong. But anyways,
they have their place, and you know, people are going to see them, and people want to see that stuff to the point now where I don't think that theaters will be of much use beyond like large sci-fi things to go see or action
Or James Cameron.
or like but in even that like that's right.
Sci-fi.
That's that large like sci-fi world, right?
Aliens, yeah.
Because I got no reason to go on a big screen to see, you know, some rom-coms. As much as I like them, like, why am I going to pay $15 for a big screen to see
I'm going to
that?
be honest, over the last decade, the only time I've been to a movie theater to not see some action-based blockbuster is taking my girls to go see some family-friendly animated movie.
Yes. And I think that's where we're headed. We're headed to like that form of storytelling, right? Like it's going to be bombastic and big. And you don't make $1 billion without everybody being invested in it. Like nerds are the only ones doing that.
Yep.
And
we're just willing to admit it.
Yes.
And that's why we preach on this show, on this channel, that we're for geeks by geeks, and really everybody's geeking out about something.
Yes.
And that's why this year, especially, we're trying to have our Geek Out sessions kind of reflect that in a broader sense, not so niche about only specific comic book things, but like this is a bit of a branch. You're an educator, but you're using comic books to do so. And there's so many of people that feel like, okay, because I wasn't the geek in high school, like I was into Spider-Man, but I wasn't probably as far a geek as by definition back then that T was or that you were. But I've always loved it. I've always had a good time. And so that doesn't exclude me from being allowed to geek out about it now. Like everybody's into it a little bit. Everybody has a little bit of geek in them.
Yeah. Why would you be mad that somebody wants to like the thing you like? It's the thing that baffles me every time when people are like, well, did you read X, Y, and Z? No, I watched all the movies. Like that's what I know. Like, and you're great with those movies. Like, I don't understand for the life of me why anybody would be mad that new people like Star Wars, whoever that is. It's like, I'm happy that you like it, because you know what that means?
Whole tangent I can go down.
I know. but what it means is I'm gonna get more Star Wars because you new people are bringing it like the attention to it. Like I'm happy. We don't get Mandalorian if some new person doesn't like Star Wars. Like that doesn't happen.
You know what, we get more of Andor because nobody's watching that.
Well,
I've heard great things about it.
No, it's great, but nobody's watching it.
I'm gonna watch it once I get through Obi-Wan.
Yeah, people. I think with I know we're way off. Andor is one of those things.
No, we're not. It's all.
It's
fine.
Andor has a marketing problem because they don't know that they need to sell Andor and like Rogue One. Like this is for adults. This is adult storytelling. So if you think you can't get into Star Wars because it's primarily for kids, people are gonna get mad about that. But if you are mad that like this little BB-8 robot comes in, you think that ain't for kids, something's wrong with you.
Yeah.
So
it's called merchandising.
Yeah, seriously. That Baby Groot wasn't in there for us, even though we
I hated Baby Groot. I'm like, this is stupid.
But like Andor is like straight up for adults, and I think people need to realize like if you just watch that as a straight up like spy show, you will love it. And like who cares about it being in space and lasers and whatnot? Like it's still like a straight up like espionage, action-y, political intrigue. Like that's House of Cards, man, without the weird guy being all creepy in it.
I hate that the analogy works.
Yes, Andor is the one with Diego Luna. I don't know if that was like if that was being facetious, because I know nobody's watching it like you said, but it is that one. If it's
PSB, then it's facetious. I've never heard one straight comment come out of that guy in my life.
All right, but I know we're getting too close to game time, but I've got 3 questions for you that I'd be amiss to not ask you live.
Amiss.
Yeah. So 1, what is your opinion as an educator and as just an avid geek overall, opinion on banned books in school, especially kind of how far that reach has kind of expanded at this point?
Yeah. I think it's difficult to tell kids they can't access something when they're all walking around with porn in their pockets because they have these, right? So that's my short answer. My longer answer is this. I think that as long as a parent is involved with making a decision about what a kid can or cannot access for their own student, I am totally okay with that. If you're like, hey, you know what? I don't want my daughter to read genderqueer because I have a specific ideology and or I'm not ready to have that conversation with my student about that. Because at the end of the day, that's the big part of it. It's not about their kid learning. It's about, I don't want to expose myself to a thing that my kid is going to have to like try to ask questions about.
Yep.
And that's okay if you're not ready for that. But what I don't think is you have the right to make that decision for everybody's kids.
Mm-hmm.
Because just as much as like you don't want your kid to see that, there's a kid sitting in that classroom right now who has never seen a queer character in their life, and they feel like they are
alone, isolated. Yep.
Yes. And just the idea that I can, as a student now, maybe go to a library and pick out a book that has everything that I'm experiencing happening, and I can feel like I am not this outlier. This is a real and valid experience. I think that is way more valuable to me than someone's hesitance to talk about these things that exist out in the world. So yeah, I think at the end of the day, you can parent your own kid, but you just shouldn't be allowed to parent somebody else's kids.
I love that.
The misses
louder for the people in the back.
Yeah,
God.
yeah. We try to be as loud about that as we can.
The missus and I frequent Barnes and Noble because it's heaven on earth. And just every time I go, that banned books list keeps getting wider and wider and wider. And I'm in an interracial relationship, so it's constantly, I've got 2 6-year-old girls, very opposite ends of the spectrum for how they're going to grow up and live life just based off the amount of melanin in their skin. And it's one of those things, I'm looking at these books and I'm like, I'm going to buy all these books regardless, because I think there's just some literary classics that I think everybody should read. But it's getting to a point where a lot of the schools, like, yeah, no, we're no Killing Mockingbird. I'm like, we're not going to go down that tangent. Like this shelf is getting massive, and I'm like, I'm not going to force the kids to read things they don't want to, but I've got like a set list of books that are like banned books at this point. I'm like, you can't not read this because it may not connect to you like the way it did for me, but like it's going to open your eyes to a lot of things that I, as a white man, am not going to be able to teach you about. Mm-hmm. And that if you don't have a stepping stone into this introduction, you're kind of going to walk around with that level of arrogance because you don't know any better. And just the more I see those banned books, I'm like, I can't get a justification for you. I see you as those limiting that for others. It's like, there's no, just because it makes you uncomfortable, like you said, it doesn't make everybody else uncomfortable. And you shouldn't be limiting that for anybody.
Yeah.
No, it's so arrogant. I hate it.
Yeah, and then there's the other part of it where it's the intention is not just that. I mean, if there's a parent who's well intentioned, I get that. There are people who are like, just this thing is tough for me to have a conversation with my kid about, and I'm not ready to do that yet. I get that parent who's there.
You can have that conversation.
Yeah, it extrapolates out, and it goes beyond that, and it's now I want to control what people are learning, and that's what I have a problem with. Like that's. You can't do that. That's not fair to anyone. It's not in your rights to control what how other people view themselves in the world around them.
I like that. All right, question 2 and 3 are much more lighthearted.
Okay,
but they are going to make you think just a little bit. One, what comic book or graphic novel did you think was going to like be a hit but just flopped? Like just did not resonate with anybody.
With students.
Yeah.
Man, this is hard. You know what? Okay, I can say this, and not because it was a failure, but it didn't go as well as it could have, and that's American-born Chinese. In my class,
really,
and it's actually really good. But here's why, because I have I've run out other books to kids that were easier to grapple with, and American-born Chinese is actually deceptively complex. And it's anytime something goes wrong in a classroom, and teachers are going to hate that I say this, anytime something goes wrong in the classroom, 99.9% it's the teacher's fault, right? So the way that I brought that book out, I don't think was the right way, because I brought it out like as the book that it is. It has these layers and it's really complex, and I didn't just say, here's what this book is. Let's have a conversation with this book and yourselves as a reader, and then let's let's interact with it differently than like here's all this backstory and it's about X, Y, and Z. And I was a little bit younger in my teaching journey when I brought that in, but that's the one that didn't go over as well.
Okay.
You were excited about it, right? So you were like, "Oh, check this thing out and all this backstory and all the history behind it. You got to know this."
Yeah,
but it's just you got to let them learn it themselves, huh?
My friend Eric has this really cool saying. He says the most important thing about any of this stuff when you're bringing in things that you're excited about is don't hug yourself, which means like don't like overly think that this thing that you love is so great that it can't fail.
Yeah, wizards.
Yeah. Right? Like don't the word you used earlier was so perfect. Arrogance, right? There's an air of arrogance to think, because all you've done at that point is just replace the arrogance of people saying you need to read William Shakespeare with the arrogance of you should all read Watchmen, right? That's all you've done. So you brought in this thing that you think is important, and you haven't at all considered like what the kids would think about it at all. And I think that's like the key to it.
All right, so now contrary. Yeah. What did you think coming in like this is not gonna work, but just was success across the board?
Yeah, I was, and this people are gonna be surprised to hear this too. I was unsure about a book that I brought in. It's called I Kill Giants.
Yeah, they made a movie out of that, right?
They did.
D&D?
I haven't seen it.
But, don't.
I started it and fell asleep.
Don't.
This isn't working.
It's bad.
So like really early on in my teaching career in the current district I'm in, I wanted to use that book, and one of the higher ups was like, "You can't use it. It's not, it's not a good book, whatever." Like he was against comics in general, but this book, he was like, "I don't think kids can handle this." My new boss came in and was like, "What do you want to do?" I said, "I want to do this book." And I had in my head like, okay, this might not go well because it's not it's not the most accessible story. It's not Superman, it's not Spider-Man, it's this totally unknown entity. But every year I taught that, I would have like two things happen. A kid will say, "This is the first book I've ever read in high school." And the sad part of that is I always taught that to seniors. So that's like, you went 4 years and haven't read anything. And it's possible. I get that, right?
I think I made it all through high school without actually doing any of the readings. At least the entire book readings. I don't think I'd read the entire book.
I bring them up to you often. You're like, yeah, I didn't read that.
No.
Yeah. And then the second thing that always happened was I would have at least one of my toughest kids cry after we've read that book, and that's when I go, done my job. You will be.
That's when you can hug yourself just a little bit.
Yeah, you'll be telling people for the rest of your adult life about this book, and I think that's it. As an English teacher, that is a win, because once that story like takes a hold of a kid, and it's like, y'all remember when we read I Kill Giants? Yeah, man, I remember you cried about it. What was like, what's that about? Like that's.
I'm more concerned why you didn't.
Yeah, why didn't you cry about it? But yeah, that's one of my favorite books. It was one of my favorite books to teach. I will bring that up to everybody. It's an amazing story. I'm sad to hear that the movie didn't work, but I can tell from the book that I don't know how you make that movie anyway. So
I think tangent. I think it was because Netflix made it, and Netflix has about a 90% fail rate. It's one of those things. They had the idea behind it, just the execution, it wasn't there. And in my opinion, it's one of those things. Not everything needs to go to a big screen. It's okay to give you theater of the mind, and I think I Kill Giants is in that realm of just leave it for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now I got to read this book.
You have to. It's a fast read. If people don't know
it
really is. It kind of has.
You're gonna get DMs at 3 a.m. What does this word mean?
I've been trying to sound it out for 2 hours.
Table.
Thank you. I thought it was a French like tableau.
You have to read it. One of the creators is the creator of Ben 10.
Love that. Okay.
Yeah, so it's in a manga style. Like a lot of my students love manga. I'm not as deep into that, but I try to meet.
I've got a list for you. Just let me know when you're ready.
I know. I'm trying. I'm reading a book now that's not manga, but it has like it's breaking that. It's read in the other direction. It's called Shubek Lubek, which is an Arabic translation of a world where like wishes, exist. People can buy wishes.
Cool.
And Shubek Lubek basically means like your wish is my command or something like that.
Listen, that's already anime and manga as is. You're right there on the cusp. Dive straight in at this point, my man.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna be there. I read parts of My Hero Academia, and I was like, okay, I get it. I get what's happening.
Good one.
So,
That's a good one.
Yeah.
If I can give you any
list from y'all, though.
If I can give you any, Full Metal Alchemist.
Oh, see, again, here's the thing. I don't have your disorder where I have. That's too much. Like, there's like 80 of those, right?
No, I don't think Full Metal is that big. Okay. I was gonna hit you with Naruto, and I was like, no, that's too high off the deep end. No, Full Metal Alchemist in a world of just, I don't even know the proper word, just narrative creation, is my number one story of all time. I've read it 4 times, and it's
80.
kind of. Yeah, and it's kind of my comfort anime show. Because I've watched it. I'm 27. I think Brotherhood was dubbed in 2003. So we're talking 15 years of watching this over and over again. And still to this day, like the writing, and I cry over everything. Because like, again, it might be that nostalgia aspect that keeps me connected to it more than others. But it's one of those things that I'm like, it hits your 7 different stories very well, and it's such a concise, compact story in a way they're like, I want more, but also don't soil this by trying to give me more type way.
If you're saying it's one of your favorite of all time, I can give that a shot. I'll definitely pick up at least the first, because I can get them electronically, right? I can.
Yeah.
Okay, I will definitely give that a shot. I'll let y'all know how if I get converted into manga.
But no, you're right to be wary.
Before long, he's gonna start reading One Piece, and then he's gone.
Like, you're right to be wary because this guy's actually getting through all 1,000 some episodes of One Piece. So
that's not true. I made it to like 65. I was like, I can't do this. I'm out.
Okay,
it hit too much of a lull. But I have watched. I have finished Naruto 3 times. So
I haven't. No.
And that's 700 episodes of run.
600 fillers. 100.
That's not true. Like 250.
Well, y'all, if you are loving this guy as much as we are, because like now we're just going to be in your DMs all the time now, Ronell.
I love it.
Can't even apologize. But and we got I usually sometimes at the end of the stream we're like, oh well, we had a great talk. We'll just skip the game. I did work on this, so we're doing.
I know that's why I wanted to like speed run those questions, but I would kick myself for not asking them.
That's why we're here. Plus, we got started a little bit late. You and I talked shit way too long in the start.
That's your fault.
So, but I do want people to know that if they want to support the comic book teacher, please go buy these books with the affiliate program. Hit us quick with how you got involved with this.
Yeah, so bookshop.org is a cool alternative to Amazon.
Okay.
I'm not going to demonize people who use Amazon. For some people, like that's all they got, so it's fine. But where you can, especially with books, I try to use bookshop.org because you can use that, and it either supports people like me. We get a little bit off the top of those sales, but also you can use it to support your local bookstore, small bookstores. So even if you don't want to give me any sales, you can go in there, search for a bookstore that's near you, and anything you buy from bookshop.org, that bookstore gets a kick of that.
Well, now I have an excuse to buy more books. So when I get divorced, I'm blaming you.
So I've tried to recommend books that I have read or reviewed. Throughout here, there's different like lists, lists for younger kids, lists for my African American history or Black History Month books. Where I can, if there's a Spanish edition, as you see, like I try to even post those.
Just saw that.
That have different languages, but yeah, I'm trying to put as much of that out there because I feel like again, the more kids read, the better it is for them, and the more that they can connect to other people.
Tristan Strong, fantastic series.
Yo, and I love that the regular series because I'm an audiobook reader. When I tell students that, they're like, "So you don't read real books?" I'm like, "I'm a real book guy. What are you talking about?"
It's just someone else put it to me.
I don't have the focus to have words go across my face, so that's
Yes,
why I
me
have
too. Yes, I can burn through audiobooks in a week.
Yes.
See, I
but
can't do
give me a real
audiobooks.
book.
My
and it's
brain
just-
be going all over the place. Next thing you know, I'm like, what's happened for the last 45 minutes?
Well, I do
Oh,
while I'm
it's
driving or like doing
There
chores.
have
or
been days where I wondered how I got to work.
But I'm seeing that this site has raised over $24 million for local bookstores.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I didn't even know this was a thing.
It's a
War
really cool
Olympus,
site. Like
another
I said,
good
even if you don't want to give
recommendation.
me the sale, definitely go for it. Search for your local bookstore. Your local bookstore always needs your support. And again, if you have to use Amazon, I'm not mad at you for that. But whenever we can get out of that ecosystem, I try my best to.
Well, cool. That's where we want to go. Then that's where I'm going to buy
Yep.
I Kill Monsters.
Awesome. Yes, you will not regret it until
Okay.
you cry. Then you'll regret it. But after that, it's awesome.
I'm not afraid of my feelings.
Now I'm curious, do I get the text first or do you get the text first?
I found my new best friend. Sorry, T. Once again, I'm hitting you in the chat with Command Teacher. If you haven't used it already, go follow Ronell on Instagram and support what he's doing because you are doing the Lord's work through comics and through your education. And like, I get so encouraged speaking to educators like you because you are doing it for the right reasons. You're doing it in the right way, and you are literally saving lives. And I have full confidence in that.
Thank you. I think y'all are. I was so excited to come on this show because y'all's mission about like everybody geeks out about something. I think is a core like part of my like theory that there
Clearly.
is no thing that someone can't like just dig deep into and be a nerd about, and there's no point in like getting mad that someone else loves a thing.
Exactly.
See, same page. That's why we're gonna be family for the rest of our lives.
Yes.
It's fine. But it is towards the end of the stream, and so we're gonna do something a little ridiculous. It's a game that we've played once before, when Alan from Hollow Heroes Comic Con has come on, and he's quite the comic buff. So I tried to stump him with a game I like to call Obscure Superheroes, Real or Fake.
I think I'm going to lose this one if I'm playing against Ronell, but
You are going to murder me.
I'm coming in with false confidence.
Because I was given this amazing book a few years ago for Christmas called Regrettable League of Superheroes. And it is full of actual real life comics that have been published throughout the years. And some of them are completely ridiculous and they're real. So I've mixed those in along with some other superheroes
Squirrel
that
Girl.
I
Anyways.
made up. She's in here.
Yeah,
She's literally in here.
I knew it.
She's probably the newest. A
See,
lot of
but
these
Squirrel Girl cannot
older.
be slandered because her power level is obscene and it
Yeah.
gets mocked because of her gimmick.
And she's unbeatable.
It's literally.
Squirrel Girl is amazing.
I don't know
Never-
too much about her, actually.
If y'all out there haven't read any Squirrel Girl, the newest run of Squirrel Girl is amazing. There's even one issue where there's like all kinds of like binary code like spread throughout. It's so cool. She's amazing. That book is amazing. People who are mad at that need to go touch some grass. All right, let's watch me fail at this game. Let's go.
I can't find you. I lost you in my sea of displays. I literally, oh my god.
I don't know if DSB is telling Disney Plus to make a series or if it's on there and I'm just oblivious.
It's not yet. So fun fact again, there was a show that was going to feature that character. Milana Weintraub was going to play her, the AT&T girl.
Really?
She's going to play her. Yeah.
Oh,
And
I
then,
heard that because I saw
yeah.
like a picture someone had photoshopped. I'm like, oh my god,
Yeah.
she'd be so cute.
I want to say Demi Adijue. I never say his last name. I'm so sorry, Demi. Was also going to be a character on there as well. He's the one, if you ever seen those viral September 24th things or whatever. It's like he's an amazing writer. Electro Lemon is who he is on Instagram, but he was going to be in that as well, and they killed it because it was on Freeform and not Disney Plus or whatever. So, yeah,
Freeform. Okay, so I'll give you a superhero with a quick description, and
Okay.
you take a guess whether it is real or fake. Are you ready, contestants?
Do we say our names to buzz in, or what?
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
Okay.
Wait, do you guys all have the power to react down, or just
No.
you? Okay.
Oh,
So,
I
yeah.
don't even have the power to react.
You don't? Oh, because
I'm not logged in because I didn't want to deal with the fighting of it.
Got it. So yes. Oh, I can't stay, but after stream, can you raid Moonlit Design? Of course, I'd love to, Alec. Enjoy the rest of your vacation. So yes, I need a buzzing in with. Well, you tell me what is going to be your buzz sound, please.
I'll say bloop bloop. That works.
I'm just going. Bzz.
I immediately regret that I said that. But let's go.
That she should.
The sound of poop hitting the water. Here we go. Obscure superhero number 1. Nope. How about now? Captain Tootsie. It's got super strength powered by the sugar of Tootsie Rolls.
Bloop, bloop.
I know him too well to know if these.
Ronell, I heard a bloop bloop.
Here's the thing. what do we count as real? Because I always feel like in a fever dream, I read like a short comic of this, like within a comic. So I'm gonna go with real. Why not?
Okay. Ronell says real. Answer. Real. Captain
Let's
Tootsie
go.
debuted in 1943 and created by the creators of Captain Marvel, C.C. Beck and Pete Costanza. Captain
Yes.
Tootsie was a defender of justice, hero to children, and an advertising mascot for Tootsie Rolls. He fought crooks and gangsters and also taught children to stay away from sharp ledges and how a sniper rifle works.
Yes.
We have a bit where we write news like intros for each other, and he does them so well. I don't know when things are real or fake anymore, and I'm a little nervous going into this now.
No, if it's fake, it says straight up fake. I'm not trying to lie to you, except for the description. So yeah, it is real. But you can even see that in the book, it kind of goes into detail how he kind of looks like early Captain Marvel, DC's original Captain Marvel, now known as Shazam.
Yeah.
He's got kind of that look. He's got the Superman curl that he had it before Superman did. Okay, how did we get it?
Capitalism is undefeated, y'all. That is
That's the real villain or hero of every story.
DSB is asking the important questions. Captain Tootsie taught kids how to use a sniper rifle.
But of course,
yeah.
how else are you going to know how to use one when you go to war at 12? Okay, next. The Raccoon Loon is granted super hit powers by being bitten by a rabid raccoon.
Bzz, I'm gonna go fake this time.
Okay, you say fake. Answer. It's fake.
Oh, thank God.
But let's be honest, that's a Batman villain for sure.
Oh,
You're
for
not
sure.
wrong.
The Raccoon Loon, he just escapes Arkham Asylum because he was bit by a raccoon.
Batman can get bit. His suit constantly giving him the medicine he needs. Shut up. Batman doesn't always have prep time. Get the fuck over it. He's not a superhero.
Just rich. All right, currently scores 1-1.
Hey.
I think there's 10 questions, so let's end in a tie. Next up, Thunder Bunny. By clapping his hands, he is transformed into a superpowered pink alien bunny.
Bloop bloop.
Yes,
I'm gonna say that's fake.
it's fake. Okay,
Yeah.
sounds too ridiculous to be fake. Of
Oh
course it is.
no.
Of course it is. Except it's real. It is real. Debuting
wait,
in
you know what?
what? You remember
I've
this?
seen this book.
In 82.
Debuted in 1982, Bobby Caswell stumbles upon a crashed spaceship and finds the last survivor of a doomed civilization who passes on the powers of its planet's greatest hero. All Bobby must do is clap his hands, and he is transformed into a giant pink bunny in spandex.
There's like a whole like universe of animals in there. I've seen this book.
I have so many.
Yeah, because even behind him, you can see this weird bulldog thing.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that is.
Oh, this is wild.
But look how happy he is clapping his hands. He's so pleased with himself. All right, so no points for that, unless. Or do you lose points if you got it wrong? Do we make some real life consequences?
No.
All right, still 1-2-1. Hello?
Yeah.
Sir, hello. I'm sorry, I'm talking to my keynote.
Oh.
I'd like to go to the next one, please. Oh, now I'm just like moving things. Do we need to throw up the technical difficulties? There.
It's been a month. It's been a minute.
I'm gonna say that we both win here, and it works out. I'm gonna guess that Condiment Man is one of them, and that is a real character.
Condiment Man, yeah. God, I hate it. I did work on it. I did the work.
Wow, talk about hitting a lull at the end of the show.
All this means is I gotta come back and I gotta play.
Exactly.
I can fix it. I can fix it. Come on. Okay, it's fixed. I just don't want you to see it. Okay. All right, Slapstick. Next up, Slapstick, a class clown who transforms into a cartoon clown. Real
That's
fake.
fake for sure.
He says fake for sure. For 0 points, he's wrong because it's real.
Yeah, I didn't want to say anything. I knew that was real.
What?
Yeah. Slapstick is tough, man.
The awesome Slapstick.
And they recently tried to bring part of his stuff back recently.
I found some looking for pictures. I found some newer animated looking versions.
Are they legally allowed to say he's performing the stunts of Looney Tunes though?
That's a wording in the book. I kind of lifted a lot of these descriptions just straight from the book. So I don't know if that's the actual physical description, but Slapstick, debuting in 1992, published as the answer to comic book becoming too mature, Slapstick was a cure almost worse than the disease. Steve Hartman undergoes quite the transformation, his body becoming elastic and being able to perform stunts out of Looney Tunes.
Wow.
Yes, Slapstick is rough, and I think he even interacts with Deadpool every now and again, and that is a tough read, y'all.
I
see, in my head, that sounds top tier.
No, I love Deadpool, but like those two together, it's
too much.
It's really
too
surreal.
much.
Yeah,
Deadpool, because it's just like comedy. You need like the straight man and the funny man. You can't have two competing to be the funniest. Otherwise, you get FGBG, and it's just not funny.
I was gonna mock The Rock and Kevin Hart, but yeah, let's mock us. That makes sense too.
All right, still 1-1. Next, the Ferret, a cop who wears a ferret mask.
Real. That's
with
real.
Strength and flight.
That has to be real.
Comic book teacher says real. You seen it?
I think I might have seen this one.
I'm curious if you've seen it in the original iteration because it's real. It's real. The Ferret.
So stupid.
This is why our community gets mocked.
Yeah, you wonder why people make fun of us for liking this shit.
What is that? What is that?
So it's basically he's got a blue and yellow or blue suit and yellow cape, but it describes it as a cowl.
Anthropomorphic design I have ever seen.
It described it as a cowl, almost like Batman's cowl, but with a furry buzz cut like a ferret. And this has even got fake.
It's like when Man-Bat tries taking over but can't quite get a grip on him.
So debuting in 1942, this iteration of the Ferret was a single appearance in Man of War comic. Undercover police commissioner Kyle Dalton possesses strange powers, very much unlike an actual ferret, having super strength and flight. But the character was later brought back in a different bloodthirsty manifestation. So maybe that's what you'd seen, Ronell, was...
Yeah, that must be it, yeah.
He's got like a yellow, or got a blonde kind of mullet and this like angry blue mask, but he's like a villain and he's cutthroat. That was brought back later in like the, I don't know, 60s or 70s.
They don't do enough discussing what an actual ferret's powers are.
But I think that ruins the ambiance of it. Because you got to remember, when Stanley, I don't remember what video it is, but Stanley sits down and talks about, when we write these, we don't give a conclusion on who wins in these major name fights. Because then I don't have to make that decision. You guys can fight about it for decades.
Yeah.
And then capitalism wins.
He said like, who wins in the fight? Whoever I says does. That's
right. But you know what? This kind of makes sense now that I'm doing some analysis on his name, because he's a detective, he's a police commissioner, and if you are trying to find the answers, you are ferreting out the clues, and so he is
a
the
stretch.
ferret.
I like it.
As someone who owned 3 ferrets growing up, that's a stretch. They were just thieves.
3? Oh, the opposite of a police commissioner. All right, so now it's 2-1 with Ronell in the lead. Next up, we have
That's
Glaria.
real.
Glaria, a woman scorned whose looks could kill.
That's got to be real.
T confidently says real.
But now that I say it confidently, I know it's fake because statistically, he's not putting 3 reels in a row. So I know it's fake, but
it's fake. It's fake.
Did you create that one, Boser?
I did. I created all these fake ones.
You could very easily make some like Medusa, you know.
It was giving me Typhon Mary vibes.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, that works. Yeah.
That's part of this psychological. That's why this particular game takes me a while to put together, because I've got to come up with shit that's equally but not worse than the actual shit.
He always asks me, he's like, what game should we play? I was like, this is not my fucking bread and butter. It is yours. Go back and make your shit.
All right, so that's 2-1 Ronell, but T's got -2 for answering wrong.
Negatives don't count.
All right, we got Wham Bam, a former porn star who discovered his powers during a recording session.
This has got to be real.
I was going to say, this has to be real.
This is pure 60s nonsense.
Right, you can envision it in the 60s or 70s when they're just, you know what? Love is free. Let's put this on the shelves, sell it to children. They probably did, but
oh no,
not in this iteration. Wham Bam is fake.
I'm glad you got there first, because I would have said real too.
I'm just here to make you look better by making myself look worse.
I thought
feel like in a world where
that's my superpower.
That's a great power. You make other people look great. I love it.
Who's the X-Men that Forget Me Not?
Oh,
is that his name?
I think that's his code name. But like, basically, they've kind of written him in the stories where it's like he was the unsung hero behind a lot of stuff, and nobody knows that he.
Like, it doesn't make sense that like they saved the day, and it's because he was there to do the thing behind the scenes, but nobody remembers.
That is so sad. You're right.
Yeah, he's only remembered while he's in your vision, but the moment he's gone, you forget he exists, and everything he's done, you forget exists.
Yeah.
So
it's like all these comics where like they'll draw him like in the corner, like doing the thing. It's so rough, man.
Oh shit!
That's what you should cosplay, and just don't cosplay at all. And then when someone's like, "Oh, I think I saw you there. Who were you?" Like, not.
That's actually not a bad one because his costume's pretty basic.
It is.
All right, I think we got 1 or 2 more. Oh no, I lost it again. Okay, Jigsaw, a former astronaut whose body can stretch because it's made up of puzzle pieces.
Huh. Bloop bloop.
Yes, Ronell.
I'm gonna say fake and regret it.
Fake
this
and
feels
regret
this
it.
feels real.
It does, but like I think that like the Saw movies are in my head. It's making me think. Well, is that where I'm hearing Jigsaw? So I don't know.
That's where I went too, but the obscureness of puzzle pieces stretching also makes sense.
You're right. You're right.
And I believe that there is a newer Jigsaw comic, because while looking up a picture of this actual comic, I had a hard time finding the one from 1966. That debuted in 1966. On a rocky mission to space, Colonel Gary Jason crashes and is rescued by aliens who put his broken body back together using metallic plates. Now he can stretch because that's what puzzle pieces do.
See, I hear some of these things that get created, and then I get upset that the things I created get ignored.
Right? These actually get published by real comic book companies?
Because, like, am I just submitting to the wrong places? Like, what is the problem here?
Apparently.
They're like, we don't want good ideas. What do you want?
Hit me with your stupid shit, and then you get more Kevin Smith. And as much as I love the man, we don't need more Kevin Smith nonsense in the universe.
Yeah, we don't.
And DSB, I think you're right. I think that's one of the newer villains pictures that I was seeing. It was very dark. It seemed very Punisher-esque. I didn't really do a lot of research on that because it wasn't the picture I was looking for. Okay, I think I've got one or two more.
Dial H.
That is real.
Dial H for hero, Ronell says it's real, which is a high schooler who finds a rotary phone device and transforms into a variety of heroes.
All right, the name is ass, but that power is dope.
Yeah,
How
actually is.
confident are you, Ronell?
The new book, well, because I read the new book and it's great. So that actually is. It's dope. I hate that I jump in so fast, but when I'm confident, I gotta
you got to get the point where you can, because yes, it is real. It's debuted in 1966. A young Robbie Reed stumbles upon an alien device resembling a phone dial on a tuna can. He spells out the word hero and transformed into entities such as King Candy, the human starfish, and Mighty Moppet.
So he's just OG Ben 10.
Exactly.
Yes. This is literally the first Ben 10. You're right.
But from what I read, he wasn't able to control it. It's almost like the device had a sense of humor in itself.
Ben 10.
And
Yeah,
as you...
Ben 10, same deal.
Oh, really?
He didn't really control it until he was more of an adult.
Oh. Well, then, yes, exactly.
He'd like, yeah, I want this one. And the Omnitrix was like, but wouldn't it be funny if you get the exact opposite power you need to solve this problem?
Oh, that'd be a great City of Mist character.
Yeah.
Just Ben 10. So if you're watching on YouTube or here on Twitch, you can see all these entities. And that's why the comic was called Dial H for Hero, not a
Plastic
hero's
Man's
name.
an obvious one.
Well, that was an existing comic at the time.
That's what I'm saying. That's the only one that really jumps out as
It's interesting. The rest I think were kind of made up.
Yeah.
Or I think the Human Bullet was also real. I've heard of that one.
I think Future Man might have been real. The thing is, like the new hero or the new Dial H for hero, they used existing DC properties, so he could.
Oh,
it's
he could become
DC. I'm less
Superman.
interested.
Yeah,
I'm just playing. I enjoy DC comics more than Marvel's, but anyways.
nice.
Okay. Last one. Shit, I did it again. EI. It's an I. but
Real.
Comics.
Bzz, real.
How
It's stupid. It doesn't make sense, and that's why it's real.
Yeah, you're right. That's real.
And that's why you're right. It's real.
Yep.
It is an actual floating anthropomorphic human eye with an eyelid.
Man.
But debuted in 1939, it's literally an actual living, speaking, crime-fighting, disembodied eye with powers of omnipotence, flight, ability to steal. Oh my god, I'm having a stroke on stream. And disappear up here at will. Listen, do you want me to call you out on every wrong word you say?
You do it anyways.
Off stream. I let you say it wrong for a full hour first.
As the resident English teacher here, I will say that mispronouncing the word is at least a sign that you've read it before and you are a reader. So it's not like you're out here, calling Szechuan chicken Saskatchewan chicken. Have you read it?
That is the participation trophy of reading. Don't give me that. At least you've read it. Okay. Am I proud of that?
You tried, buddy. You tried.
And I think we have. Oh, well, you just buzzed in at that last one first, T.
Yeah.
But I think Ronell had one on you from being so confident about Dial H for Hero that it's 3-2.
Oh, close.
Ding, ding, ding. Ronell, you are the winner. Congratulations. Just for that, we will post this entire episode to YouTube and podcast tomorrow.
Nice. What a prize. I love it.
If you lost, we were going to put it right in the garbage.
I think we've only had to do that with one episode, but that was just a request due to some content that was created during.
And it's not thrown out. It still
We
exists.
just haven't edited it.
It's in drafts. That's on you. That was the one time that was on you. And see what happens.
Like unearth it and bring it out and.
Well, so it was one of those things like we released it and I shot it over. It's like, hey, go ahead and do with this what you want. He's like, yeah, I meant to let you know, this chunk of time I needed edited out. And I was like, let's just remove all that shit real quick.
Undo, control, alt delete, control Z.
And then life is life, so I just never got around to editing. and
Life be life,
republishing.
though. Omnipotence.
Love it. That has to be a character now. Comics.
Oh, yeah.
We just discovered comics are really dumb sometimes.
Sometimes.
I love them.
A lot of time. There's an entire book, and this isn't even scratching the surface.
I'm buying
Comic
that
books
every
is the one place where there doesn't have to be justification for the thing that doesn't make sense in the form of writing for it to be acceptable.
Yes, I
You
love
just get
that.
to geek out on page. Well, Ronell, have you had a good time with us tonight?
Absolutely, man. Yeah, y'all are a blast. I'm so glad y'all asked me to do this. This was great.
I'm so glad that you answered our message and didn't just leave us in the request folder.
No, absolutely. This was so fun, and I really do appreciate the work y'all are doing with building community and giving people a place to feel seen. I think that's really cool.
Well, we see you and all the work you're doing, and you better win some fucking teaching awards sometime this year. I swear. You deserve.
From your lips to anybody else's ears, that would be great.
You just let me know how we cheat the ballots and get extra votes in for you.
Why I am from Chicago, so we can figure that out.
That's not even too far away.
Oh! I can't get to the react button quick enough. That would have been a.
But the fact we have the possibility of meeting at C2E2
Hell
makes
yeah.
this even that much cooler.
We're doing
Absolutely.
it.
Yeah,
Our plan is to
definitely.
go this year. Yeah.
Well, I will definitely be there. I don't know. We always try to have some panels there. So if you're a teacher and you're looking to do any of that kind of stuff or go see any kind of, how to use comics in the classroom, definitely come see us. Last year, one of my favorite panels that I was on was Clifford is a Kaiju. And all we did was just talk about how to use pop culture to teach kids. It was such a fun panel, and it was really engaging, and we had a fun time with the audience there. So
Clifford the Big Red Kaiju. All we need is for
That's so accurate, though.
Emily, whatever her name is, to be able to jump into Clifford and become this big mega mech.
Oh, that'd be cool.
See, now you're just teetering on fucking Moon Girl and what's the T-Rex's name?
Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur.
Devil Dinosaur.
Yeah.
Oh, the one. It's a new series coming out. Animated.
Yeah, they're also getting a series. Yeah,
because I know Sam Riegel worked on it.
She's smarter than Reed Richards.
Of course she is.
Yeah, she is pretty smart. That's gonna be a fun show, y'all. If y'all watch it, and the music production is gonna be great.
I heard good things about the music.
Really cool for young kids, especially young girls, to watch that show. So that's
very
be
empowering.
fun.
But if thank you for everybody hanging out in the chat or watching back on YouTube or listening back on podcast. We had such a great time, and if you had a great time, then leave a review or hit that sub button, hit that like button, share this with somebody that you feel needs a place in a community that needs to be seen. And if you don't want to be seen by us, at least you could potentially be seen by the comic book teacher, somebody that matters.
I'm not gonna let y'all in on self-deprecation. This is a really cool show, and I think that what y'all are doing is dope. I will say that a bunch of times because, again, anytime you have people who are willing to share their platform to give folks a chance to get out in front of people, and again show that they're not alone out there, I think is a great thing to do.
You keep doing cool shit, and you'll come back as often as you want to.
This guy's trying to make us feel good about ourselves.
Listen, there have been not very few. We have some really cool people on, but just the moment I started talking with you, I was like, I'd like him to come back on, not a weekly, but if he was on fairly often, I wouldn't be upset.
I'd love to be back. This is really fun.
I want to have him on just for a just chatting where it's not really about anybody's content. It's just hanging out and talking about news of the day.
Characters fighting.
Yeah, I think it'd be great if that's what you want to see or hear. Let us know because we'll welcome him back anytime.
Absolutely.
T, what do you got going on Wednesday?
It's a good question. Whatever the community wants, because I hate making decisions. I still can't find my wires, so T-Paint is still on that. And I also have to come up with a new name because fucking T-Paint is fucking releasing his own goddamn paint line.
Get it? We're about to get sued.
Fucking asshole. Just kidding.
Is he really?
I love you. Yeah.
Because T-Paints is such a cool name. Like that. That's
what I'm saying. So
it
my better half was very anti it, but my tagline for my inaugural show was "Play a Turn Painta."
Come on, that is just good.
My spouse was like, "You can't fucking say that."
I did.
I did.
And I did.
Yeah.
Well, tune back in on Wednesday. T will be streaming. And honestly, I love a Wednesday stream because it's just the time when everybody's just part of the conversation. T's just doing shit and talking to all of you and me in the chat. That's where I hang out in the chat. And then Thursday, we've got another episode of our ongoing campaign of City of Mist. And this shit is getting wild. I can't even keep up what's happening anymore. And I'm literally... And we are making these episodes, but then I watch them back and I'm like, when did that happen? I wasn't even drunk. It's in the mornings when we're recording.
My issue as a writer is I like world building a lot. So I don't know if you know what the app called Obsidian is, but you bring together ideas and you can code in connection points. So you're like, oh, I'm going to write out just simplistically like A connects to B, B connects to C, A also connects to C. And you can write everything. Well, then it'll create a web of all of your connecting points of creation. And so that... Really cool. Oh, it's fantastic. I'll shoot you a photo to give you a better better idea of what I'm talking about. But this story that we've created, we're on episode 25, I think we record this weekend. It's like a fucking constellation. Like it's looking up at the stars level of nonsense.
It's wild.
That's cool though.
But we're loving it. We're having a great time. And T, don't you have a really great crossover?
Oh shit! Yeah, I'm bad about things. Yeah. So we all know you guys like Let's Get Rolling, and we also have a bunch of other creators on here that we talk about often. We hang out with Doodle Bob Johnson, Miss P, Decent Studios. Well, all of these great people have never played Dungeons and Dragons. Fuck you, Wizards of the Coast. But we are having a super awesome crossover event where we're going to take, I believe it's 8 content creators. And teach them to play Dungeons and Dragons. So we're having a 2-part one-shot episode set in the past and the future. So Simba with Let's Get Rollin' is going to take 4 of the content creators and do a one-shot on Let's Get Rollin's channel on Friday, the 27th. And that's going to dictate what happens in my little one-shot with the other 4 content creators on the 29th. So the past will impact the future as they save the day from whatever nonsense Simba and I eventually write. So that's coming up on the last weekend in January, and that's one of many things that Let's Get Rolling and I have talked a lot about because we got some plans going.
We like collabs.
We do.
I'm excited to see how it goes. But Ronell, at the end of the stream, that we never tell our guests until this very moment, and I don't know why. Literally no reason. But we sign off a particular way around here. We're going to each say our names, and then we're going to say, and you just keep, and then all together we say, geeking out.
Okay.
Got it, Ish?
Yeah. So we're going to each say our names.
So until next time, I'm Boser.
I'm T.
I'm Ronell.
And you just keep
geeking out.
Nice.
Bye.